Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a like.
The envelope arrived on an unremarkable Tuesday, but its presence sent chills down Sarah's spine. It was a simple white envelope, unmarked, without a return address. Everything about it felt wrong, and she hesitated for a moment before tearing it open. Inside, there was a single sheet of paper with a message typed in block letters. "I'm your mother. I'm your Allah." Her hands trembled as she read the words, each letter striking like a knife against her already frayed nerves. Who was this monster, and why had he chosen her as the target? It was back in June, not long before the envelope had arrived. Sarah had stumbled upon a seller on eBay offering her favorite rice milk lotion at a price that seemed almost too good to be true, $40 less than usual. In a moment of desperation and excitement, she clicked, "Buy now," reveling in her find. For years, Sarah had battled severe allergies that left her skin a patchwork of irritation and pain. The only thing that offered her relief was this specific lotion, made with natural oils that soothed her eczema. A soft smile crossed her lips as she envisioned the calming fragrance and silky texture, sure it would restore a sense of normalcy to her life. Days passed and that joy quickly soured when the package finally arrived. The bottle sat in the kitchen, void of any protective packaging. No thank you note from the seller, nothing but the bottle itself. An uneasy feeling settled in her stomach as she spotted the shipping label cut off at the corners, leaving her with nothing but a generic location. She grimaced, recalling how many times her stomach had churned over similar situations with unscrupulous sellers. But the thrill of possessing her treasured lotion muffled her suspicions. That afternoon, she opened the cap, ready for the scent of her memories, lavender and chamomile mingling in her mind. Instead, a thin stream of sticky liquid oozed out, emitting an odor reminiscent of cheap dollar store imitation. Panic surged through her veins. She hadn't even tested it on her skin before the burning began. A quick glance at her fingers revealed redness looming where the lotion had made contact. Her heart raced. "Get it off!" she shouted, rushing to the sink and rinsing her hands under scalding water. Each moment was an eternity as she fought to stave off the reaction. After a tense few minutes and 2 Benadryl pills later, she found herself huddled on the bathroom floor, the weight of betrayal settling like a stone in her chest. The very thought that this seller had taken advantage of her desperation ignited a flash of fury. "You will not get away with this," she muttered to herself as she shoved the offending lotion back into its box, sealing it with tape while her husband, Randy, stood by, confusion etched across his face. After quickly scrolling through her order history and finding the seller's profile riddled with negative feedback, fury transformed into a cold determination. They'd insulted buyers, blamed others for their poor service, and sidestepped responsibilities like a kid escaping punishment. This wasn't just a ruined product. This was personal. She began documenting everything: the state of her hands, the lack of a safety seal, the absence of a return address. "I should have consulted your profile first," she chastised herself, a personal form of self-punishment, as she gazed at her inflamed fingers growing redder with each passing minute. With each negative review she read, her anger simmered hotter while vibrations of revenge pulsed through her veins. As she hit send on her complaint to eBay, she felt empowerment coursing through her. But her adrenaline-fueled satisfaction faltered as the seller's rebuttal flew back into her inbox. Buyer's remorse. "Your fault for not reading our policies. Your fault for not reading our policies." Her heart raced with indignation. This wasn't just a mistake. This was a deliberate act, a willful betrayal of trust. A week passed, each day a painful reminder of her folly. Instead of resolution, she found herself receiving 10 emails in direct response to her appeals, each filled with venomous insults that gnawed at her sanity. Days turned into nights filled with anger and frustration. "You think I won't take this further?" she howled at her screen. Randy watched with an apprehensive eye as she composed her response, each keystroke a strike against the injustice she had suffered. Eventually, she turned to eBay's customer service, this time being met by a sympathetic agent who listened to her account. With each detail she relayed, Sarah could see the rep's face turning pale with disbelief. "I'm so sorry this happened to you, ma'am. We'll investigate and take appropriate action," he said. Hope flickered in her chest, but it was narrow and fragile, like a dying ember on the brink of extinguishing. When she finally took her evidence to PayPal, she felt emboldened, cloaked in indignation. Documenting every interaction, every derisive email the seller had flung her way, she readied herself to wage a war. The sentiments in her heart hardened, steeled by betrayal and the need for justice. A week later, the storm finally broke, and she received yet another email. This time it was not through eBay, but from an anonymous email address. "Liar, I will make you pay for this," with a threat trailing off into vile obscenities. Randy, standing over her shoulder, felt a sinking feeling as she deciphered the implications of the message. This isn't just someone spouting off. He's serious. He could come after you. The aftermath weighed heavy, an unseen enemy rearing its head from the shadows. Panic and fear weaved a tapestry of worry in her mind, while the notion of retaliation began to solidify into a palpable desire, a need for vengeance simmering below her skin. "You think this is over?" she muttered, her heart thundering in her chest as she set her resolve even stronger than before. With the fury of a woman wronged, Sarah began crafting her return plan, convinced that she would not just reclaim her health but also force this seller to confront the pain he had caused. This wouldn't end with a refund. She needed retribution. As the days crept on, drowning in fear and anger, her life transformed into one of chaos. The arrival of the typed letter felt like a foreboding sign of darker intentions. Just what had she unleashed? Adrenaline coursed through her as she reached out to the police, fearing for her life. That she had engaged with an individual who now lurked behind her social media profiles threatened her sense of security, spinning a web around her that was suffocating and inescapable. And still, the craving for revenge burned hotly, feeding off her despair. It imprinted deep, every slight, every insult replaying like a broken record. This man had not just cheated her out of money. He had invaded her sanctuary, invaded her mind. The sweet arms of vengeance wrapped around her, urging her forward toward a path she knew she could not ignore. It was time to take back control. Armed with her evidence, hidden identities, and a newfound determination, she started plotting her course, ready to see it through. She learned everything she could about him, uncovered his social media, and recognized the role of fear in his tactics. With every click of the keyboard, she felt closer to him, a stranger whose betrayal would haunt her steps no longer. It was she who would have the last word. The hunter had become the hunted, and in this relentless game, she was prepared to draw her weapon and mark her aim. This was no longer about a bottle of lotion. It was about survival against a man who thought he could destroy her. As she closed her laptop, she felt the weight of her choices pressing against her chest. No longer would she allow fear to dictate her actions. She would harness this wrath, magnify it. There would be no more hiding, no more running from the shadows he cast. This was her story of survival, a tale of vengeance that would arise from the ashes of betrayal, a nagging ache of heartbreak. Justice was overdue, and she would serve it cold, inching ever closer to the resolution she desperately sought. For the first time since receiving that letter, she felt exhilarated. Soon he would understand the consequences of crossing her, and this time she wouldn't back down. Sarah sat up late into the night, reviewing her notes and piecing together a web of revenge that was taking shape before her. Each flick of the screen brought her closer to clarity, fragmented thoughts coalescing into a singular purpose. She would make him pay. The next morning, she rose early, filled with a sense of fiery determination. The envelope had not just rattled her, it had awakened a dormant beast within. She started meticulously crafting a plan, each element tied tightly around the vendetta that had rooted itself deep in her heart. Following the tip she'd received anonymously on a forum about disgruntled sellers, she set her sights on creating a social media account under a false identity to infiltrate the seller's online world. As she delved deeper, she realized how reckless this man had been. His life lay bare across various platforms, pictures displaying a luxurious lifestyle, interactions with other unsavory sellers, and a collection of negative reviews lingering ominously beneath the facade of confidence. Days turned into weeks, and soon she found herself on the brink of what could turn this tale into a darkly cinematic revelation. Armed with additional screenshots and a trove of information on his associates and business dealings, Sarah's resolve hardened. Ultimately, she wanted more than retribution. She craved his humiliation, a spectacle that would embarrass him publicly, a painful truth laid before everyone who had ever doubted her. Utilizing her social media persona, Sarah began to engage with other dissatisfied customers who shared her plight. She fanned the flames of discontent, presenting her narrative as a victim of his treachery, though carefully through the guise of her alias. It wasn't long before the community united, conspiracies of retribution unfurling like wildfire. Each day yielded more embers of chaos as more buyers entertained the same thought of vengeance for what had been done under the guise of a legitimate transaction. Just as she was cementing her position within this disenfranchised collective, she received another message from the seller. It dripped with condescension. "You can't hurt me, sweetheart. You don't even know who you're dealing with." Anger surged through Sarah as she read it thrice. How dare he belittle her? She could feel the heat rise in her cheeks, yet a chilling resolve accompanied it. Without responding, she shared the message with her group, instantly rallying supporters. Together, they decided it was time for a direct confrontation. Setting up a meeting at a local coffee shop, she cloaked herself in casual attire, comfortable but sharp, shrouding her identity as the mundane surroundings vibrated with tension. She was joined by two other women from the online group, fierce souls who had each suffered at his hands, all ready to see the man responsible for tearing their lives apart held to account. As they waited at their chosen table, adorned with steaming mugs and casual chatter, she could feel the thrill of what was yet to come. A simple cell phone buzz sent a ripple of alert through them, and they shared determined glances as the door swung open. There he was, dressed down in a loose polo and jeans, masking his cockiness with a false front. "Hey, you all look too nervous. Did I keep you waiting?" He grinned, an arrogant swagger defining each step as he approached. Sarah's heart raced. Despite the wave of anger rising within her, she feigned a smile. The others quickly joining in. "Glad you could make it. May I introduce you to your biggest regret?" she said, her voice smooth yet lined with steel. Tension hung heavy in the air, and oozing confidence, she leaned forward, her eyes locking onto his. "You know, I came to warn you there's a storm brewing, and it has your name on it. The game you've played isn't over. It's just begun." A flicker of unease crossed his face, but he quickly brushed it aside, a mocking laugh escaping him. "You think you're scary? I don't take orders from losers." With barely a moment's hesitation, Sarah slid her phone across the table, displaying a thread of recent messages exchanged between him and other disgruntled buyers who had suffered similarly. Their faces began to twist into horror as he paled while scanning the screen. "What's this?" he stammered, his bravado fading as he fumbled for words. "Your world is about to collapse," Sarah warned, as she pressed down harder on the gas pedal of vengeance. With every tick of the digital clock echoing through their corner, she could feel the rush of triumph swell inside her. For the first time, he looked overwhelmed. "Are you threatening me?" he spat, though the confidence was dimming, flickering like a candle caught in a breeze. "No, I'm promising you," she replied, unwavering. "Your actions have consequences. Just a whisper among us could unravel your whole facade. You see, we're planning to expose you, and we'd love to film your reaction to it." With her words, she felt an electric swell of satisfaction. As he began to curse and shout, the coffee shop shifted uncomfortably, the hushed crowd bearing witness to this visceral confrontation. In that moment, Sarah knew he felt the first stirrings of fear, reverberating through him as powerlessly as the coffee cups began shaking. He turned to the door, his escape thwarted as the patrons around them moved in, Recording the outside, she noticed a camera above the entrance blinking, capturing his undoing as strangers began recording their phones in disbelief. "Just remember," she leaned in close, their faces nearly touching, "I ride high on my revenge, while you've just signed up for your biggest failure. People don't forget betrayal. They remember those who hurt them." The realization hit him, the gravity of his cowardice crashing down. He stumbled backward. Those same familiar words echoed from her lips, now a haunting specter. "F your mother, F your life," she whispered, a vengeful smile cutting across her lips as she watched him retreat into the shadows of the parking lot, defeated, a caricature of all that he had harmed. Sarah turned to the gathering crowd, soaking in the collective energy pulsing around them. "You wanted a show? Let's make sure everyone sees this." The shared laughter of strangers and supporters buoyed her spirit as she knew she had stepped toward reclaiming her strength. With each updated post and video that went viral, the seller's reputation crumbled before her eyes. She watched the online community tear him apart piece by piece, each comment a dagger laced with the sting of betrayal. The echo of keyboard tapping resonated like a storm, a hurting din embracing the vengeance they all shared. Days faded into weeks, summer sun drenching everything in warmth. When she finally received the confirmation that his eBay account had been terminated, tears brimmed at the corner of her vision, not from sadness but from sheer exhilaration. Randy glanced at her from across the room, framing the moment of triumph in their lives, and joined her, an arm around her shoulder. "You did it. Not just them, but you. You stood tall, and you fought back." "I know," she breathed, taking deep, liberating breaths, the weight of what she had once felt lifting. This was never just about the lotion. It was never just about him. It was about showing that we shouldn't let ourselves be silenced, that we are powerful when we stand together. The words reverberated through her, igniting another flicker of strength she didn't know she possessed. But there were still more battles to fight, she realized. The world was filled with men and women who would twist and turn justice as they saw fit. It was now her mission to ensure that she'd never let another person feel the same trepidation she had felt. At that pivotal moment, her phone buzzed, drawing her attention. The sender was unknown, but the message was clear. She opened it, heart racing. "You'll regret this. You don't know who I really am." A shiver ran through her. The fight was certainly not over. Now they were in the ring, and nothing could prepare her for what he'd unleash next.
Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a like.